Well, you dared me. Paint drying is actually a lot more complex than you think. It's not just a liquid drying out. In fact, watercolors are just a liquid drying out. It's water, it's dye, and when it dries out, the only thing that's left is dye. Paint, on the other hand, dries to a hard film. And to make this film stick, usually a chemical reaction has to happen. So you may have noticed that when you go to a hardware store, paint is mixed. It starts basically as a white colorless paint, and then pigment is added into it. Paint is basically a colloid, which is a liquid substance with solid particles in it, and the solid particles are pigment. The liquid is usually whatever base of the paint it is. You hear water-based paint, oil-based paint, latex or acrylic paint, so on and so forth. And then there's a binding medium, and this is actually what's going to be the thing that's reacting. You spread the paint on a surface, and it goes on as a liquid. Then the water starts to evaporate, and the chemicals within end up getting closer together because of it. And those chemicals start reacting with each other, and that causes the paint to harden into a hard shell. This is not the only way that paint dries, though. There are some paints that actually have an internal chemical reaction. You mix in a curing agent, and it is what causes the paint to harden. And it will usually harden much faster than simple paint that waits for evaporation. There's also paint that's used for specific purposes, like, say, clay ceramics. These usually end up curing when you expose them to heat. You can tell that a chemical reaction has taken place because when you rehydrate paint, it doesn't become liquid again. If you, say, splash your wall with water, the paint doesn't come off the wall. You need paint thinner to do that, something that will actively reverse the chemical reaction. And once again, that chemical reaction is going to differ a bit if it's a water-based paint, oil-based paint, acrylic paint, so on and so forth. And that's the science behind paint drying.